Welcome to the Real Film Geeks. I'm Addison Lee.
And I'm Zebedee.
All right, so for this episode, we have a few topics that we're going to cover. We are going to do a Baby Driver review. I saw the film. Zeb didn't, but he's going to ask me a few questions about it, and I'm going to, without spoilers, answer any of his questions. We're also going to talk about the landslide of the Han Solo movie. Rumor and just how pretty much is tanking right now.
How things are falling apart.
Exactly. Then we are also going to discuss how Warner Brothers there's a rumor going out that Warner Brothers wants to do 3 to 4 DC films a year. And then we're also going to talk about director Matt Reeves and how he wants to do a noir-style Batman film with Ben Affleck. So let's start off with the Baby Driver review. So I saw Baby Driver.
And I did not.
And I have to say, I absolutely love the film.
Okay.
It's my second favorite movie this year, just behind Get Out. And yeah, it's probably one of the best cast I've seen in a very long time. Like, just from main leads to supporting cast, it's just top notch. So yeah, so go ahead and ask me.
I'm gonna do something a little bit different here. I'm gonna be asking these questions based off of having only seen the trailers. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I thought of the movie just from the trailers, what I think the movie was gonna do, and Addison here is gonna tell me what I got wrong, what I got right, and essentially just whether it was worth watching. And I can already tell he says yeah, but we're gonna have his take on it. So as someone that's only seen the trailers, I was kind of interested in this movie. And so I'm probably going to see it after this podcast at some point this week. But we've got a bit of almost an Ocean's 11 vibe, kind of, just because we have a crew, but also a bit like more Fast and the Furious because we have this crew. But at the same time, almost everyone except for the main character, Baby, seems to be at odds with him. Mm-hmm. And they all hate him or are just like, I don't care about you, and we're going to kill you if we have to.
Yeah.
And then they throw in this love interest kind of thing, and from the point of view of someone that doesn't know what's going on, just seen the trailer, it's kind of hard to figure out what the goal of, the overall story of this is, because we see there's heists, he wants to get out, he wants to drive away, and he's got this girl. Mm-hmm. And so where does it go from there? And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just trying to understand it.
Right.
But honestly, you know what? I'm going to backtrack. I actually think that is a good thing because that's what I want out of a trailer. I don't really want to know anything past, I don't want to see anything from the second act on in the trailer. I want to see only stuff from the first act and the beginning of the second act. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see any scenes from the final fight. I don't want to see anything, like that. And I think from what I saw from this trailer, it delivered on that. It only showed you bits and pieces from the first couple bits and maybe a bit from the beginning of the third act. Because there's a scene in the trailers where they have Mike Myers masks, but they have the wrong ones. Actually, that's one of the highlight of the trailer. That is the Mike Myers mask.
That's a hilarious scene.
Because they're like, I told you to get the Halloween masks. And you did. I did. No, Michael Myers. He's like, yeah, I got Mike Myers. And
this is Mike Myers.
This is Mike Myers. It's
no, the killer dude from the Halloween movie. Oh, you mean Jason?
Oh, you mean Jason?
No.
Yeah, no. I thought that was actually really well done comedy. I was also just wondering why it's in the trailer, mm-hmm. because it threw off the feel of the trailer. Because this seemed kind of serious, actually. This kid's trying to get away from these bad people, and then we sort of just throw that in there for comic relief. And it also makes me wonder if they threw that in there, and maybe is that the best comedy scene that the film has, and they were just throwing that in there to try to draw people in, and they just kind of wasted that.
I will say no. Yes, I think it might be the best comedy scene where it's just straight beginning to end, it's all set up for a joke. Because the rest of the movie it's not a comedy.
Right.
It's an action thriller, but the fact that most of the comedy just comes from how these characters interact with each other. So at the beginning you said you think everyone hates them. Actually, a lot of people really like Baby. Most of the time, it's just people irritated because they don't understand him because he has tinnitus. So that means he hears a ringing. And
Right.
don't worry, that's not a spoiler. That was in the trailer. And because of this tinnitus, he listens to headphones and he blasts the music to drown out the humming. And a lot of people see that, like, because there's a scene where the boss, who's played by Kevin Spacey, like, beautifully, like, I don't want to say like a supporting actor nominee, but I would love to see him get nominated because he was fantastic. So he's going over the plan, and Baby's just listening to his music, and everyone's like looking at him like, all right, hold on, boss, this kid's not listening. And then Kevin Spacey's just like, Baby, do you want to repeat what I said? And he's just like, well, we're going to do this, and that, and like lays out the entire plan word for word, and it's amazing. And then, people kind of just grow to like, he's just a good kid because, he got caught up with Kevin Spacey. He's kind of paying off his dues. And there are a lot of relationships you actually care about in this film. And, they might change at the beginning and the end. You're just like, oh, I don't want to see these two go against each other because, like, you actually really care about their relationship.
Sure.
And
so you think the film is actually about the development of the relationships between each of the characters?
Yes.
Like, these are people that, from what I gather, come together not knowing each other.
Right.
And by the end of it, or along the way, some or all of them actually develop, like, an interest in each other as friends or more than friends and all that kind of stuff.
Because the way Kevin Spacey runs his business is that he does not hire the same crew once. So like there's a scene where he has Jamie Foxx is in the film,
right?
And he's with two other kind of like just random guys, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one crew. But then at another point, it's Jamie Foxx, John Hamm, and Isa Gonzalez. Like, so he might keep one or two people, but the crew is always different. So it's over and interwoven. It's really interesting that way. And yeah, it's more of a character-driven movie. Like the sets are really cool because there's like not a lot of CGI in the film. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's all like actual.
It's all stunt acting and like car stunts.
Yeah.
So okay, here's a big question though.
Okay.
As someone that enjoyed a few of the Fast and the Furious movies, but wasn't a huge fan of them overall, would you say this movie is just like another Fast and the Furious?
Nope, not even close.
So,
because it's not really about cars.
Right.
He's just
a driver.
He's just a driver, and he's really good at it. So it's not like he's not obsessed with cars. He's not anything like that. It's more about music.
Okay.
Because that's his connection to the waitress that he falls in love with, played by Lily James, who you might know her from I think Downton Abbey, and she played Cinderella in the live action movie. Mm-hmm. And like their connection is just movie. Like there's a scene where they're talking about like I love music, but there's no songs called Deborah. And it's like, well, there's actually two songs called Deborah. And she's like, oh, that's cool. But, my sister's name is, I don't know, Stacy. And there's like a million songs about Stacy.
Right.
And she's like, oh, what's your name? He's like, my name is Baby. She's like, your name's Baby.
Yeah, B-A-B-Y, Baby.
And you think it's going to be like, why is your name Baby? She's like, your name is Baby? Well, that means you win. There's almost every song has a baby in it, so it's like,
right.
So it's just how their connection through music, and like he talks to like different side extras in the movie where, like one he's talking to like a bank teller randomly, and they just talk about Dolly Parton, and it's just like it's just how music connects all these different people, and I will say, the soundtrack in this is better than Guardians of the Galaxy. So the soundtrack to this film most of it isn't tailored for the film. A lot of it is actually like I mean like a new soundtrack, like orchestral written for the movie. A lot of it is they take older songs and play them over. Yeah, it's like a lot of the scenes are done to the music. Mm-hmm. So like it's not just like random music playing in the background. Like Baby will put in the headphones and blast the music, and then that's just the music throughout the scene. And a lot of
it's essentially diegetic music. It's music that's actually in the film.
Yeah,
similar to how Guardians was with a few of its songs in the first one.
Yeah, and like there's I think one of my favorite scenes is right before they do a heist. Like Baby starts a song, And then something happens, and they get slowed up, and they're about to go out. And he's like, "Wait, hold on, I got to start the song over." And he has one of the old fashioned iPods, so you hear the as he's rewinding. He's like, "Okay, now go." And then the music starts, and then that's how the music is going. It's a fun movie.
Okay,
that's all I could really say. Is like my heart was like pumping like during the entire time, like kind of what you originally got when you watched those Fast and the Furious race scenes in the first couple movies, but in this one it was all like believable.
Mm-hmm.
Like just seeing how because I think the actor name is Ansel Elgort, sure.
Ansel Elgort,
sure. Game of Thrones sounding dude. So baby, I'm just gonna keep calling him baby.
Right.
So like everything he's doing, it's nothing out of like when you watch Fast and the Furious, you're just like, okay, there is no way anyone will be able to do that. What he's doing is not outside of the realm of like.
And I'm sure, depending on how much of it actually was just like stunt doubles and stunt drivers, that is literally physically possible because the stunt drivers are doing it.
Yeah, and throughout, it's a very character-driven movie. You can find issues in the plot, but it's not the plot that's driving the movie. It's these characters and it's the relationships. Because, like I said, when you like the relationship between Baby and Buddy, who's played by John Hamm. You actually kind of care about their relationship because it's kind of like a little brother, older brother kind of thing where it's like there's a huge gap difference in their ages, but once again, music because like there's this like he comes like there's a scene where he talks to him just like, so what's your like your jam, like what do you do, and you have to play the same song, and he's like, well, it's this song by Queen, I think, and he's like, oh, you have that song? He's like, yeah, I have it on this iPod. Because he has, like, different iPods. And he's like, I have it on this one. He's like, okay, let's listen to it. And they're just sitting there just, like, bobbing their heads. And they're, like, kind of singing it together.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's just fun how this connection to all these people is music. And that's how it is in real life. Like, sometimes you might find someone who's completely different from you. And you're just like, hey, you like this song by Bon Jovi? And you're just like, I love that song. And then, boom, there's a connection.
Right. So you'd say that... Overall, this film, not so much about the driving or the heist and the running away, even though that stuff is all there. And the core
is characters.
The core is the characters and music and like connections between people.
Exactly, because I know Elgort has been in like a lot of like YA movies. You know, I think he did the two kids have cancer, like. The Stars Between Us, or
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name though.
The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah, The Fault in Our Stars. Oh, good God.
And he's also in the Divergent movie, so you know a lot of people kind of just. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just looked up his IMDb. Apparently, he's in Dungeons and Dragons, maybe.
Oh, that's neat.
So
I forgot there was going to be a Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Me either. So that's a. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. Once again. November Criminals, look at his name. He's playing a character named Addison. Wow.
That's neat.
Yeah. Anyways, and he's also in Paper Town. So yeah, he's becoming kind of like the poster boy for these YA stuff. But so I know a lot of people, that's kind of turned a lot of people off. And the name Baby Driver. Like I heard someone say like, "Oh, is this a sequel to Baby Boss?" And it's like no.
Please no.
No. Anyways, yeah, he's charming. Like, there's a scene, it's kind of similar to the first scene you see with Star-Lord when he's walking through the cave and he's listening to music. It's kind of the same thing, but it's like a one-shot. And you know me, and if anyone listens, I love one-shot takes in film because it's like, it takes a lot of work, and that means everyone has to make sure they're doing their job right to make sure that scene works.
Yeah, because it's a long scene, and to reshoot it costs a lot and takes a lot more time.
And you have to go all the way back to the beginning. So that's why I love the first scene. And he's he's really smart, really relatable. Like I said, this is my second. It's just a little bit behind Get Out. It's just that the ending was a little too fluffy for me. Mm-hmm. I like my scenes to be just a little more more realistic. This one was just a tad fluffy. I'm not going to go into it, but just a little fluffy. So that's what makes it just a little bit behind Get Out. And this is a movie, I will say, because as you guys know, both Zeb and I want to be filmmakers. This is a movie that makes me want to make movies.
Cool.
When you watch, you're just like, this is what I want to do. Because when I watch these big superhero movies, it's like I love watching them. They're just fun to watch. This is a film that because this is done by Edgar Wright. You know, he did the Cornetto trilogy, the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End, or
At World's End.
World's End, yeah. And Scott Pilgrim too. Like that's also a really fun film. And he wrote and directed this film. But yeah, when you watch it, you're just like, this is what film like independent, like an indie filmmaker, when he gets a good budget and a good cast, this is what you get. And makes me want to make movies. It's up there with Looper. Like,
right.
When I love Looper, and that's another film that's like, this is what I want to do. So, and I guess if I had to give it points, I would give it a 4 out of 7 out of 5, a 4.7 out of 5. Like it's
okay. I thought it was like a
I'm
4 or a 7 out of 5.
I got a little. So
either an 80%, 140%, or what?
It's weird, but yeah, 4.7 out of 5. Like it's up just a little behind Get Out. You know what? Even tomorrow, I might be like, you know what? I like Baby Driver more. You never know. It might change, but right now, it's just phenomenal. Please go see it. I hope it's doing well in the box office. I haven't checked it because sometimes I don't really care about how money is doing because it's killing on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like a 98 maybe, but yeah, go see it. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's a very character driven. Find more plot holes. It's not a lot. It's not a lot of plot holes, but you just you don't care because you're having fun watching it. You're having fun watching these characters interact. And how the relationships just change, because you'll not there are certain characters where you'll be shocked on how their character development goes. It's just a lot of fun. Please go check out Baby Driver. It's a lot of fun, and if you are an aspiring filmmaker, when you watch this, you will be inspired to make more movies. All right, so
cool.
I think that's where we'll end that segment. So we are going to move on to the crap storm that is Disney Star Wars, which never thought I'd ever say.
Right?
Because right now...
Well, I think I guess we'll dive into the meat of it first before I say my piece on that. But, so, as some of you might already kind of know if you've been, keeping your ears to the ground with Star Wars information at all, in the last month, there have been a lot of issues around the direction of the movie.
They wish they had a lot of issues. There's a ton of issues.
Right? So, recently, the actor playing Han Solo, Addison, do you remember his name? I never actually checked his name. He's totally new.
It's, oh my gosh. No dead air. That's our problem. Remember, we have to work on no dead air. Aldrin Ehrenreich.
Okay, yeah. So it's Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden
Ehrenreich. Is the new Han Solo.
Yes.
And he came forward saying, basically concerned that the Han Solo movie wasn't going to be not just a Han Solo movie, but like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
He basically said, my character is turning into Ace Ventura. And... who was the director on board before he got fired?
It was Lord and Miller. I can't remember their first names, but they were the ones behind the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street.
Right. And with that track record, first you say, oh man, those were all really good movies. And yes, they were. But one of the problems with all of them also was they were heavy in comedy.
Yeah.
Heavily comic. And... I know with Disney gaining a hold of a lot of these titles and stuff like that, they usually turn them a bit more comical. So the Marvel stuff always has some comedy in each of the movies,
right? And
even the new Star Wars have comedy just thrown in there where they didn't before.
But what it was is it was
like a speckling of comic value, not like
it's like how Baby Driver is, where it's not a comedy, but there's situational comedy.
Sure.
I always go back to I think the funniest scene in it's Return of the Jedi. It's Empire Strikes Back, and it's when Han and Chewie are working on the Millennium Falcon.
He's like, this one goes there, that one goes there, right?
And then he goes down, and then there's a shake.
Like, turn it off!
And then the toolbox falls on me. Here's
Yeah. Oh, Chewie!
like that's kind of stuff. It's not like
Yeah.
slapstick where I think that's what it kind of went downhill with Jar Jar Binks, where it's just like it's shtick. That was like that's actually real. Like
No. Like the thing with like in Empire Strikes Back, it's all relatable and real.
Yeah.
Like if you're
who doesn't
like working on if like you're working on your car
with your Wookiee.
and with your Wookiee, and you've got your head down in the hood, and then the hood falls on top of you, you're gonna go, "Oh, god dang it!" and then yell at the person who you thought was watching over it, when in fact all it was like a stick flew out of a tree and hit
Exactly.
it and knocked down on you. That's like realistic, and that's all that was in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Strikes Back was like he's working on a space car and something goes wrong, so he's gonna yell at it.
Mm-hmm.
But like. Han is not Ace Ventura, ooh, doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. He's just, the way he interacts with people is just kind of funny because he's brusque and crude.
Yeah, he's
you
supposed
know?
to, really he's supposed to be a dick.
Yeah, he's a dick. And that's one of the things also that I was afraid that was going to happen, and I'm sure it was on track to happen in this film, is that Han Solo is not a good guy.
Nope.
He's not supposed to be a good guy. He's a mercenary and he's a smuggler. And when we see him in A New Hope, he's haggling for them to pay him more. He's like, "No, you're paying me more to get you over this place.
Right.
This is going to happen."
And even when he finds out like what their real mission is, he's like, I
You owe
don't
me more.
care.
Yeah. And he
It's
doesn't,
like, I'm not going to die for her. I don't know who she is.
Right.
And yeah.
The only reason Han Solo is like on the good guy's side is because he happened to get hired by Obi-Wan Kenobi to take Luke to Leia. That was it. And he got stuck in with them and decided, you know what, fine, I'll stick it out. Even in episode 5, he was trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
And then stopped because of Leia, because he fell in love with Leia and was like, you know what, fine, I'll be a good guy. Frick.
Yeah.
That's it.
And somehow you become a captain in the rebellion ranks because like, hey, you know what? You got a ship. You could be a captain. It's like,
I'm pretty sure it's because he like aided in the destruction of the Death Star and was
He showed-
pivotal
he
in
showed
making
up-
sure
he-
that Luke didn't get killed.
he showed up at the last second.
He shows up
Like,
at the
there's a
last
guy like,
second. That's another thing. That's another reason why he's not a great guy. He abandons them, then comes back out of the last second and gets a shot of glory.
Exactly.
That's it. Like, he's a really good pilot. He has a really cool ship that's actually a piece of trash that he keeps fixing up. And, like, you know, that's it. He's not a good guy. So if we have this prequel movie, and I'm guessing it's a prequel. It's before
it's
episode 4.
supposed to be a young Han Solo movie.
I don't want him to be some goofy good guy. I don't want him to. I actually don't even want him to be goofy at all.
I don't want
I
this
want him to be backstabbing because the whole thing was he was supposed to get the Millennium Falcon
By
in
cheating.
a game of cards by cheating against Lando. Lando's his best friend,
And he
he
cheated.
cheats and gets that thing from him. That's why he doesn't see him for like 10 years.
Yeah, and one, I think I might have mentioned this in earlier podcasts. I don't want this movie in general.
Sure.
I didn't want this movie because I kind of let Rogue One pass because we were getting new characters.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to stay in this timeline. I mean, I don't really care what the timeline is, but I just, you have to obey by certain rules. Like you said, Han Solo has to be, he can't be a kind of hero. He has to be a douche. Like, he was smuggling spices, which, come on,
And
guys,
also,
that's
like-
like
And also, he
that's
was
like cocaine
working
or something.
Yeah, no, he was working for
Jabba the
Hutt and owed him like tons and tons of space credits.
Yeah,
Like,
because he dumped the spices when he saw like a Imperial ship. He's like, yeah, no, and just like dumped
Yeah.
it all.
So like, there's no doubt in my mind that up until A New Hope, he was doing bad things because he was an opportunist and because that's where his life was. And
Exactly.
so making a young Han Solo movie better be him getting, like, maybe he might have been like a nicer kid
Mhm.
when he was little, but to become a smuggler and to be working with lowlifes like Jabba the Hutt and knowing who Boba Fett was, because like he knows who Boba Fett is,
Yeah.
and he's scared of Boba Fett, meaning he's probably dealt with Boba Fett or seen Boba Fett do stuff before, and it's like, I need to stay on Jabba's good side so that guy over there doesn't hunt me down ever.
Right.
Like, he's definitely been on the dark end of
Yeah.
of the law for a long time.
And then, going back to what's going on set. So Lord and Miller were the directors. They actually left Flash from DC because they were set to direct the Flash movie, but they left to do Han Solo. Makes sense. Star Wars is,
it's getting big. It's bigger.
It's bigger than what it's ever been before. So I don't fault him for that. So when it first came out, they said they left on creative differences because that's what you do in Hollywood. You leave on creative differences. Then it came out that they got fired because their vision was not what Disney wanted. And again, they have every right to do that. But it's just weird that they were only a month away from finishing shooting and they were going to go into post production. How do you not realize
that maybe it's not working? And that's the other thing too. So what Ron Howard himself was going to work with.
Well, they brought in Ron Howard to finish the post and then do reshoots and whatever. Right. That's what every big Hollywood movie does. If with a movie with this kind of budget, you have to schedule reshoots because you can't do it on just one foul swoop, unfortunately. That's why. So yeah, they're going to do reshoots, and that's where he was going to come in. Apparently, there was also another rumor saying that people were just not liking what Ron Howard was doing. So I don't know, and they have not changed the date on this movie. It still has
its 2018.
Yeah, it still has its May 2018. Like it's in May, like only a few months after The Last Jedi comes out. So I don't know what's going to happen. And like you said, Aaron Reich came to Kasdan and was just like, I'm pretty much doing an Ace Ventura movie. This isn't Han Solo. This isn't even Star Wars. And then a little after that, it came out that they had to hire a last minute acting coach for Aaron Reich because I guess they just didn't like what he was doing. So, and most likely all of this news comes out. This has been like a month this probably happened a month or two ago. It's just now getting to us.
Coming out. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it's like, oh my gosh, this is all happening right now. Most likely it's happening. It happened a little while ago.
Yeah, but because we're at the end of the loop, it's just all coming out at once, and so we think it's worse than it is. It's still probably really bad because if we're gonna be doubting and scared of a Star Wars movie, that tells you something.
And it's also kind of bad because this month is D23, which is like Disney's Comic-Con. So this is where Disney comes out with everything they're going to do with movies and TV. And Star Wars has had a huge presence at D23. So there's going to be a whole panel about it. So I'm sure this topic is going to get grilled. And then also just a little after D23, you have San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm sure a lot more information is going to come up, and a lot of people were speculating we might get a teaser trailer for this movie. I doubt we're going to get that. I doubt we're going to get anything from this movie unless some maybe set photos. Because the only thing that's really keeping me interested in this movie is Donald Glover as Lando. That's the only thing I'm interested because I love Atlanta. I love the fact that he's going to be Simba in the live-action CGI version of Lion King. That he's also in Spider-Man, and then I guess he's going to voice Deadpool.
I love how he kept telling everybody, "I'm not going to be in the Spider-Man movie, but if they ever wanted me to be Miles Morales, I would."
Yeah, and now, but we don't. I think he's just playing not a thug, but just some kind of criminal. I want him to be Prowler. I want him to be Prowler so bad because in the Ultimate Universe, Prowler is Miles Morales' uncle. He doesn't have a tie to Miles Morales, but it's just been cool if that's who he was. Because I guess in now the new comics, Prowler actually, because Peter Parker now is like a business tycoon. So when he's doing business stuff, Prowler puts on the Spider-Man costume and pretends to be Spider-Man, so there's no confusion between the two. Really cool. But back to Han Solo. So yeah, it does not sound good right now. And usually everything, because I know there was a little drama during Rogue One, because they also brought in another director for that one, but it was more of like a teamwork thing instead of I can't remember the director's name, but Gareth Edwards was doing Rogue One, and someone came in to like help out, and everyone thought it was like, oh, they're pushing him out of the movie, and Gareth Edwards during the interview was just like, no, this is what Disney does, and I guess I wasn't doing a certain scene right. They called in someone else to do it. Right. That's just how it goes. Because these movies are too big. So
yeah, they have too much at stake to
bank it all on one person.
Right.
So I hope it all works out. I mean, I just hope now this just shows, like, you know what? Because again, like you were saying, he has to stay true to what he was before episode 4. He has to be. I mean, he can. I guess he might be able to start out as a good person, and then you see him as a good person, and then you just see how the world of the underground of Star Wars kind of just twisted him. I might be okay with that just a little bit, because that would make him a more relatable character. If you're like, oh, look at this like bright-eyed kid, because I know in some of the old legends he went to the Imperial Academy, right?
You know, he was an Imperial pilot.
Yeah.
Like one of the, I don't think it's canon anymore, which kind of sucks. But in the old canon, the reason he wears those pants, they have the stripes. That was Imperial flight pants, essentially. Like if you were an Imperial pilot, your like, what you calls it outfit, your good outfit, whatever it is, the dress outfit had those stripes on the side, and that explains why he's always wearing them. But it's kind of funny because like he doesn't like the Empire, but he also doesn't care about the rebellion until he joins them.
Watch it like you find out it's just like on set, George Lucas just like, all right, we don't have any more clothes. We have some extra Imperial clothes. Here, just wear them. That's it.
But he was a pilot, and that's one of the reasons that like the Empire knows who he is because they actually had like a file on him because he was one of their pilots. And one of the explanations for him leaving the Empire was
he had a brother, right?
Like he had a brother and he got killed. Either that, it was that one. There was also he saves Chewbacca instead of killing him
and has a life debt.
Yeah, and that's why like that still is canon though. Chewbacca's life debt
as far as I know.
But in the old canon, that was why he left the Empire, was because he was ordered to like either kill Chewbacca or destroy his ship or something like that, and he pulled a switcheroo or something like that and saved him. Don't quote me on that because it's been a good while since I've read those books and comics. But
Zeb on the Real Film Geeks gets everything wrong about Han Solo's origin.
But yeah, no. So yeah, I'd love to see him do
what he does.
And it doesn't mean he has to be like Scarface level evil that we're still voting for, like rooting for, but just let him be, a crook. Like you can be a cool, nice person-ish, but still a bad guy or a crook in the end.
Right.
Like he's someone that you still like because he's not suave, but he's like charming. He's the like handsome devil. And
you kind of look at him like, I know you still
like I want him to walk into a bar and a Twi'lek chick comes up to him and he's like, "Hey baby, it's okay. I didn't forget your birthday." And she's like, "My birthday was yesterday." Slap him and walk away. Like, ichuta and and or something like that, and then he just like looks at her and he's like, Twi'leks, hate to watch her leave, but I love to watch her go, that kind of thing. And someone's just like, "Oh Han, you ass, you're the funniest person in this bar."
Or he calls her by like someone else's name, or
whatever. Like basically, I don't want him to get too close to it because that's one of the problems that they might hit because they own both of these titles. But like Star-Lord is very Han Solo-ish, and I'm sure that's what Chris Pratt was basing himself off of.
No, it was Indiana Jones and Han Solo, and that's not even just how he was doing it. That's how Peter Quill, because remember, Peter Quill got taken up during the 80s.
The late 80s. And so he had just seen, I think Empire was in, early 80s.
83.
And then Return of the Jedi was, 87 or 89.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So, he would have been gone by then. But he would have seen... He would have seen The Empire Strikes Back. And I honestly think that's, prime Han Solo.
And Raiders, I also think.
And Raiders, yeah. He would have...
but with all of that...
Actually, I think he would have seen Raiders and would have seen Temple of Doom by 86 or 87 when he got took.
Okay. So, that's where he literally took from those characters. So you can make him like Star-Lord because Star-Lord based
himself off of
Han Solo. So you can make Han Solo any way you want. But, hopefully Ron Howard is the first director to do Star Wars with a previous Oscar.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
He's the first Oscar winning
director on Star Wars.
But I know this movie is only being made because of Lawrence Kasdan. Because this is what he wanted to do as his last Star Wars film. Because I know he worked on a movie, Force Awakens. I know he co-wrote that with J.J. Abrams, and when Lawrence Kasdan, who pretty much was the one who really fleshed out Han Solo, when he says, "Hey, I want to do a Han Solo movie," you don't tell him no. You're just like,
right. All
right, Larry, do the movie. And now it's getting all these issues, so hopefully it all works out. So now we are going to move on to our next topic, and that is, there's a rumor going out that Warner Brothers wants to extend their DC movies to 3 or maybe 4 movies a year. That's a horrible idea.
I'm at this point, I'm not too big on that. Like, even Marvel itself limits it to like 2.5, 3 per year.
It's 3 because this year, or I don't know. I think it might have started this year because we had Guardians. We're going to have Spider-Man, and we're going to have Thor.
Right. And when they first started, Marvel was on 1 per year at most.
It jumped to 2 pretty early. Some people didn't even notice.
Right. But the difference between the two is Marvel was hot out the gates. Like, every single movie Marvel came out with was gold.
And it's not even that. Well, it wasn't, because we had. Some people were iffy some people were iffy on Incredible Hulk. I actually liked that movie a lot.
Right.
Not a lot of people liked Iron Man 2, even though it's still high rated.
That's the thing is, they're all high rating. They all sold out the box offices.
Yeah, like, but a lot of people had
all more. Of them. The thing is the money.
Right.
Like, it proves that people were watching them, and it made it so they could make more of them. And with DC's films, it's a spotty track record.
But the money wise.
But money wise, they're still there.
Yes.
So like, they, if this rumor is true and they're going to be aiming towards 3 per year, the interest has to be there to see these films. And I honestly realize I'm actually more of I like the Marvel universe more than I like DC. But my favorite characters are in DC.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of worried, like, is DC just going to run out of good ideas really fast? Because with DC, our main characters that we know, like everybody knows, is like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, maybe the Flash, maybe Green Lantern. All right, that's 5.
We don't
like off the top of our heads, that's 5.
Right.
But then with Marvel, it's like, oh, we got all the X-Men, we got Spider-Man, we got Fantastic Four.
Actually, that's Fox. That's
I know that's Fox, but I'm saying, like, in that universe, like,
right.
all of that material, we've got, like, Hulk, we've got Thor, we've got Captain America, like, the list goes on. There's so many characters that have their fully fleshed out superhero movies that are just for them.
Right.
With the DC universe, we don't have a lot of characters that can have their singleton shot movies. So a lot of what DC is going to end up doing, and what we've already seen from the list of movies that are going to be coming out soon, is they're going to be 2 and 3 person. Yeah, like, not scraping the barrel, essentially, I guess, is a way to say it, but they're going to have to, like, put together heroes with other heroes to make sure that there's enough material to produce all of these movies.
Right.
So I'm worried that they're going to be making cookie cutter films that are just
filling up slots
and trying to compete with Marvel instead of perhaps taking their time and producing quality content.
Right.
And I hope that's not the case. I could be very, very wrong because I'm not actually in that, business. And they might be getting there a lot of really good writers. But I don't remember if I said this in the last podcast, but I'll say it again. Like, if DC wants to compete with Marvel, they have to dump a lot of money into making sure they have quality screenwriters and quality directors, not just having
the same people
the same people and the same don't depend on A-list actors.
Right.
Like, it's going to be writing because Will Smith was a cool Deadshot. Actually, he was pretty good, but I don't think Deadshot was written well. So you have an A-list actor who was good. He was a very good actor, and I ended up liking him a lot. But I don't think that was a very good Deadshot.
I agree.
And that's where the writing comes in, because that's one of the biggest things with all of these comic book movies is they are drawing on source material that is ages old.
Yeah.
Like, it's up to 50, 60, 70 years old.
Yep, 70.
And people have been, reading the stuff and putting it in their minds and, knowing every inch of it for ages.
They know more than a lot of film companies.
It's not just, oh, I like this one Greek mythology thing. I know Zeus is the god of thunder and lightning, so let's make a movie about Zeus and have it be that. And everyone doesn't care because no one, except for Addison here, is that invested in Greek mythology.
Right. And there's so many takes on these different superhero films that, some, especially with Superman, some people's Superman is All-Star Superman. Like that, that's literally the perfect Superman. Like, there's no problem with them other than he's, spoiler alert, he has kryptonite cancer or something like that. So other than, a disease, he is literally perfect. And, that's why I think a lot of writers have issues with writing Superman, because it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? The Rock takes away his powers, gets over the Rock, and then, boom, he beats whoever his villain is. So that's why I kind of like what they did with Man of Steel by adding a little more, made it just a little bit more compelling by, making him, they forced him to make a decision that Superman would never make, and that's by killing Zod. Sure. I think that adds just a little something different to him. So, when we were talking about Greek mythology, there is really just one story of Greek mythology. I mean, there are people who, like the Hercules from Disney or whatever, but usually the main source material is that Zeus was a giant ass. Like, that's what he was. And most stories kind of play off of that. But, Superman, Batman, some people do them differently, so...
Well, that's true, but kind of the point I was making was that with Greek mythology and all that kind of stuff, with newer movies that have come out that have taken stuff from Greek mythology, like, for instance, Wonder Woman. Even though Wonder Woman was fantastic, they took pieces of myths from Greek mythology and used that to make a story that never happened in Greek mythology, Greek mythology,
right.
And we just said it happened like that. No one, except for the biggest Greek mythology buffs and historians, are going to dispute it or care about it. They're just going oh yeah, it happened like that. Yeah. But if someone's like, I read up everything, this never happened, that makes this movie not good for me. That's what it's like, but 99% of the audience is that person instead of just 1% when it's these Marvel and DC movies, when it's a comic book movie. Because these people have been reading and watching the TV shows and everything, playing the video games of all these characters their entire life. And so when in the Marvel Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, when he wasn't a genius nerd and instead a bumbling idiot half the time, people got angry.
Exactly.
Because he's not supposed to act like that.
And that's what I meant with Superman. Like, if Superman is not the way people...
And if Superman... like you were saying, when Superman does the thing he does to Zod, he'd never done that in the comics before, but you can still see the comic book Superman doing that if he was put in that position.
Right.
And...
Because not everyone knows that you can just take someone to the moon. That's not...
Right.
That's not the first option of every single, Because that's the argument I get in with Anthony all the time from Token Nerd is, why didn't you just take him to the moon? Not everyone thinks you know what? To the moon.
Yeah, and maybe this Superman hasn't been out in space yet and doesn't know whether he can breathe up there or not.
This was Superman day one. We have year one. This is day one.
Yeah, so so that's what they have to be very aware of, is the fact that, and I've said this a billion times, I'm sure, Addison has, I'm sure Anthony over at the Token Nerd has on all of their podcasts. If you're writing and filming a comic book movie, you have got to make sure that you are drawing from the reference material correctly, because your fan base is going to hate you if you don't.
And if you don't, you have to make it almost as compelling as it is from the
comics. And if you don't, it's got to be on par with those comics, and it's got to be
Yes.
faithful to the comics at the very least. And that's why, like, you need to bring in, essentially, like, I think they should bring in experts.
Well, and that's why they have Jeff Johns.
Yeah, just people that know the business and know what's going on there. Because all they should look at a movie, a comic book movie as, is just a live action version of the comic book. So they should be getting comic book writers essentially for this.
And I think that's why Wonder Woman's doing so well is because Jeff Johns, also came in and kind of co-wrote the film.
Right.
And Jeff Johns, I think, has written for every single comic book character in DC, so he knows these characters up.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he has intimate knowledge of how to write for them.
Exactly.
And that's one of the coolest things about that, and that I'd love to see more, is like drawing on writers in the business that have written for these characters. Have literally written Batman stories, have literally written Superman stories. Bring them in. They might not be directing, but as long as they're writing it and making sure that the actors, or not the actors, but the characters are acting the way they should be, even if the story is outlandish and totally not any Superman story we've seen before or any Batman story we've seen before, we will all still enjoy it because we'll still go, yeah, that's how Batman would act if, the man-bat virus got injected into a bunch of Kryptonians that invaded from the Phantom Zone or something weird like that. Like,
that's terrifying.
That's terrifying.
I literally saw that in my mind. I'm like, I want to see that, but not in a movie, but I want to see that somewhere.
But that's how it's supposed to be. Like, with these movies, they need to do fresh ideas. Sure, be fresh, be kind of crazy and out there, but at least make sure that these characters are doing what they're supposed to be doing in character. And my one defense for the DC cinematic universe, is that what's called the DCU or the DCEU?
The DC Extended Universe.
Yeah. With the DCEU, is that, in my opinion...
It's so dumb. I hate that.
I know. In my opinion, it's the darkest timeline.
Yeah.
They are, like, Batman is ruthless and willing to kill, even if only indirectly, sometimes not so much.
And at the same time, it's not like he's killing someone who stole gum.
Yeah, no,
he's killing traffickers. So
he's just brutal. Yeah. This is a very brutal Batman. But it's because, as they mentioned, he saw a god and realized how little he was, and was like, essentially, like, it doesn't matter anymore, but he's like, the only way to ensure that mankind is safe is if I get harder. Yeah. And so he does. And also, like...
And that means we have to take out the trash. Right. Literally.
Yeah, and this Batman is also a Batman that has dealt with losing a Robin, with a whole bunch of other stuff in his lifetime. And one of the things they can draw on by doing a cinematic universe, by doing live-action films that are in continuity, is... there is actual aging in this one. There is actual timelines of when things happened in this universe, not just, this is Batman, and in 1980 something, one of the Robins got killed and came back as Red Hood,
I don't want that happened.
And somehow it's 2012, and that still happened in 1986. I've been a Batman since when? So it's like, no, we know the timeline. We know that, this Batman has been Batman for like 25 years. Because he's old.
Because he's supposed to be like Ben Affleck's age, and he's like in the 41.
Yeah, he's
42.
like mid 40s,
and he said, this is a
war-torn, worn out
Batman,
done with people's bullshit, bull honky, and.
I love how you think that's better than what you said.
Right?
Bull honky.
But like, what I'm getting at is, when we look at the comics Batman, we kind of understand that all of this stuff has happened to him in his past, but we don't really know when, and it's actually happened over the last 50 years, but it's condensed into like 30 because Batman is always 40 at the most in the 35. Comics. Or 35 in the comics.
Yeah, superheroes are always 35.
Yeah, even though all of these things happened to him in his past that he literally would have no time for. But with this Batman, he is aging still. Like, he has a past, but because we actually have dates to attach to everything that he's done because it's a movie, it's a film, and he's like a flesh and blood human this time.
Yeah.
We get to peg down, oh, in this universe's 2010, that's when Jason Todd died.
Yeah.
You know, and not just that, what I'm trying to get at with this is that he's had hardship, and he's had real human hardship, not just comic book hardship, you know? And so he is honestly, what those Batmen, if they had actual lives, would end up being.
Yeah.
Is a lot more sullen, angry, willing to do what needs to get done.
Yeah,
honestly, in this universe, he's probably the only superhero that's had as much hardship as he has.
Because, you know, a lot of the Batmen in all mediums, they talk about, like, oh, yeah, I'm a guy with issues, but they never really show it. Like, I remember in the Justice League animated series, he talks about, like, yeah, I'm a rich guy with issues. You don't really show it other than the fact that you just don't, like, trust people that much. But, you know, you never see, like... Because I remember in Batman v Superman, he has a dream that there was a bat monster in his parents' like tomb cave, whatever.
And honestly,
that was a terrifying scene. He's like, yeah, if you dressed as a bat every night, I'm sure you had some really messed up dreams.
Well, honestly, I believe that's before he became Batman, because the reason he became Batman was my greatest fear was bats. So to overcome that fear, I became what I was afraid of. But the thing is, he's still never gotten over that fear.
Exactly.
And so that's why he has the dream about the bat and why he's afraid of it. And he's like so out of it because of it. It's because they have made him more human.
Mm-hmm.
He is still afraid of things.
You're seeing a lot of the man in the bat.
Yeah, like, it's great. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
Because he should still, like... It draws on why he became Batman in the first place and reminds the viewers why he became Batman, and a lot of people forget that that's why he's Batman. He's not Batman just because he wants to fight crime. He's Batman because he wants to strike fear into the hearts of villains, and to do that, he drew on his greatest fear, and it's always been like, if I can conquer this, I can conquer anyone.
Yeah. Because now, and especially in this universe, it's not the fact that they're scared of a guy dressed like a bat, is that they know what this guy dressed as a bat is going to do. So it's like, I don't care that you're wearing a costume now. I'm scared that you were strong enough to punch me into a wall and leave a dent. And like going back to what you said, that this is the darkest time for these characters, look at the Trinity. Like you said, Batman's literally going through a lot more hardships. You have a Superman who was forced to kill.
Right.
And, you know, and even though I wish they did a little bit more in Batman v Superman, that, you know, this is Superman who's trying to help, but then you have people just like, no, look what you did to Metropolis, because you're the only living thing that can take the blame for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yeah, a lot of the destruction was a terraformer, and then a lot of it was Zod's uncontrolled power, he's the only one there.
Yeah.
So he's the only one who can really take the blame. And you have Wonder Woman, who didn't just come to man's world and just be like, hey, look, it's not, it's all beautiful. Like, literally, as soon as she crosses through the shield, it's smog.
It's war.
Because she goes to World War I.
Well,
the
one thing I will say is Wonder Woman's past, her, like, the way that they have done Wonder Woman so far in this cinematic universe, it's just normal Wonder Woman. She actually has not had the most traumatic, like a very traumatic experience.
I don't mean by traumatic. I just mean that, like, her first taste of man's world is.
No, that's
World
always
War
how it
I.
is.
I know.
With Wonder Woman, she always leaves Themyscira and goes, "Oh God, men are so messed up. The world of man is the worst."
But usually in the comics, she's still Wonder Woman. In this timeline, after World War I, she was like, "I'm not doing this anymore." Like, you guys, like, she's like, because in Batman v Superman, when she shows up, she's like, I left man's world. And what she saw watching, no spoilers for Wonder Woman, but seeing how World War I kind of like,
sure,
and it's not just Ares corrupting man, it's just man, just that's how people are. She left. Like, she didn't leave, but she pulled herself away from entering the war. And that's what I meant, like, she's seen dark times, like, okay, this is my first exposure. Fine, I'm just gonna run a museum over here, and then eventually it's Superman's sacrifice in Batman v Superman that, you know, her and Batman are now working together, coming he's becoming lighter, and she's coming back into the world looking for this new team to fight Steppenwolf in Justice League and the Parademons. Oh, but so I want to get back to just the three films real quick because we kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah.
With these films, my issue with it in general, because at the beginning I said it's a bad idea. The reason why I think it's a bad idea is because we have not gotten our core characters yet. So we are getting the Justice League, and that's going to have Batman, Wonder Woman,
Aquaman, Flash,
and
Cyborg. And honestly, we're going to get Superman back.
Yeah, he's back. He's dead right now, but he'll be back in the movie. The issue is, like what Marvel did, and I try not to bring up Marvel too much when I talk about DC. What Marvel did before they started doing, their Doctor Stranges, their Ant-Mans, the Black Panther. Well, they should have done Black Panther a lot earlier, but Guardians of the Galaxy, like they're actual weird characters. They were only able to do that after they got their core characters done. And the issue with DC is that
they've jumped the gun and they're doing all of them in a conglomeration movie first.
Which is not I don't mind that. But the issue is now, instead of getting more, like hearing more about the Flash movie, about the Aquaman movie,
instead we're getting freaking Sirens, and then the Nightwing movie,
and then a Batgirl movie. And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah, so we're not getting the Flash versus, we're not getting Cyborg versus, we're not getting Aquaman in the Deep or anything like that.
And how awesome would it be that if we heard that they were going to do a Green Arrow, like if they had Green Arrow and Black Canary? That'd be awesome, because that's actually a duo that would be a lot of fun. Because I know there's even this should be more down the line, but like a Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, like that would be actually kind of cool. But again,
time travel superhero kind of thing. That'd be pretty decent.
But you have to like establish these characters first before you get to establish the universe. Because like you said, we have to assume that the leads are Batman and Wonder Woman. We know who the leads are in Marvel. It's between Captain America and Iron Man, because those are usually the two leads in that universe. But in this DC one, we don't really know, because it's so spaced out. Because you had we had Suicide Squad. It was just so my issue with Suicide Squad is it's just more that it was misplaced. It should have been a lot later, not
earlier.
Third. Anyways, we're gonna move on to our last topic, and that is the director of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and the upcoming War for the Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves, is he was announced that he's going to be directing The Batman, which is going to be the Batman standalone movie with Ben Affleck, because originally Ben Affleck was going to direct, but then he dropped out, and then he said the script wasn't working, and then we found out it wasn't just because things weren't going right; it's because he was going to rehab for drinking, and everything started to make sense. It was like, oh, that's why the movie's not. That's why the movie's having issues. The main lead is trying to get help for his drinking problem. That's good.
Good on him for that.
Good on him for that. And everyone's like, oh, it's going downhill.
No,
it's not like Han Solo where everything's just not working. It's just that
it's just honestly, it's essentially just this person, Ben Affleck, had too much stress going on, had too much on his shoulders, and he decided to ask for help.
Yeah.
And he's being given it, not just for his problem with, drinking, which, he's getting taken care of on his own, but also just like the directing thing. Like, it's too much for me to do both this and that while under the stress of alcoholism and all this stuff. I need help.
And having to deal with, people constantly bashing him for Batman v Superman. People, he did a movie called Live by Night, which he directed, wrote, and starred in, and it wasn't good. I haven't seen it yet, but people were saying it wasn't good, and now a lot of people were saying like, oh, so all those other movies he did were a fluke. Like Argo was a fluke, The Town was a fluke, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, those were amazing movies, and he's an amazing director. So with that, and also in the middle of Batman v Superman, he was in the middle of a divorce with Jennifer Gardner. So like, that's a lot on someone's mind. And of course, the constant argument is, oh, he's rich, how can you have depression? It's like, you don't know how depression works, because it doesn't matter what you have. You can tell someone, like, if you're feeling down, like, but Zeb, look at this Oscar you won. That's not answering my question. So there's a whole lot more going on with this, and it's just more about their star. And he said he's coming back for this standalone. I'm glad he is, because I don't want him to back down, because I think he's probably like if this Batman movie goes well, because we'll get into why it might be the best Batman movie we're gonna get. He could be the best Batman because he's shown the detective side a little bit in Batman v Superman. Mm-hmm. And we know that he can fight because that warehouse scene in Batman v Superman is
pretty dope.
It's the best thing we've ever seen from a Batman.
It looks like straight out of the Arkham games. Is why, like when the dude's just standing there, like where is he? You think in the corner there's just he's just like hiding there, but no, he comes up from underneath him and it's just like, oh god,
it's so cool. So, anyways, Matt Reeves during the press junket for War for the Planet of the Apes, he said he's going to take a very noir take, Hitchcockian, Alfred Hitchcock's, for the people who don't know, he's going to take that kind of look at Batman.
And that's got me real excited.
And that's what people have been waiting for, because we've seen the Christian Bales, we've seen the Clooneys, the Kilmers, and the West, R.I.P. Adam West, and the Keatons. We've seen that version, but we've never had the detective. We've never seen him.
Yeah, not on the silver screen.
No, and that's why it's exciting to hear that he's wanting to do a noir style film, because I love noir. I think noir is a very underappreciated genre in film, and if you don't know what noir is, that's weird.
Yeah, look up Sam Spade, the detective, the gumshoe.
My favorite movie is the Maltese Falcon.
Right.
I love Maltese Falcon, but it's mysteries.
Yeah.
And when they say noir usually takes place in the 30s and 40s.
Well, noir just means black
and white.
And so it's black and white, and it's just like, but it's called noir because it's heavily black.
Yeah.
Like white is only used to highlight, and so that's when you get those shots where it's a person's face, but there's this weird shadow over everything. It's because it's the noir feel. Everything is clouded and secretive and like mysterious, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's a mystery. It's a detective mystery. And so this Batman film, if it's going to be a detective noir film, will fulfill every Batman nerd's greatest fantasy about a Batman movie, which is why people are drawn to Batman. Isn't because he scares people and he beats people up. It's because he's a detective that solves these ridiculous, awesome, superpowered mysteries. And sometimes they're not superpowered, but I'm pretty sure because it's going to be the movie, there's going to be some kind of superpowers in there.
Yeah. It has well, maybe not superpowers, but because,
something greater than human.
Yeah, because originally, in the original script, when Ben Affleck was still writing, they're going to have Deathstroke in it.
Okay, yeah. Which would have been like, more like a mercenary or crime boss style, than...
Which they can still do.
Yeah, which they totally can still do.
Because, unfortunately, with having that scene from Batman v Superman with the warehouse scene, if I don't see Batman fighting like that, I might be a little disappointed because, we see what Batman can do.
Sure.
I want to see Batman still do that. So you can actually have a noir film with, like Riddler. Maybe Riddler's the main villain. Because I'm talking to Scott Snyder, who's, one of the current writers for Batman. I talked to him at a con, and, of course, I'm going to ask him, if you could do a Batman movie, what would you do? And he's like, well, I don't know what I would do exactly, but because I caught him when he was, we were both really drunk because this is the nighttime of a con. And I asked him, like, what would you do? And he's like, I'll do a Riddler story because Riddler's one of the coolest characters. And you can do that. I mean, you can't have the Kilmer Riddler where it's just like, one of the clues was, my face tells time. Or something along those lines. You're like, it's not a riddle. He pretty much told you it's a clock.
It's a clock, yeah.
Yeah, so I want a compelling riddle where it's just like everyone in the crowd, you're like, can you pause the movie so we can all like share notes about this?
This is okay. I'm gonna say it. I always go back to the animated series Batman because it does everything right.
Yeah.
In the Riddler episodes,
it might not even do it right. It might have started where like it might have set the standard for a Riddler. Like maybe the Riddler was weird in the comics, but it's the show that started it. And
right.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't.
Yeah. But anyway, so like in the show, there's like an episode where like the Riddler decides that he's gone straight, that he's not a bad guy anymore, and he's working for a toy company, and so all of their advertisements are him showing these toys off. And one of the things that he does is, hey folks, today's riddle of the day is this. Like it runs off a string of numbers. He he writes it on a whiteboard, flips the whiteboard over, writes more on the whiteboard, and like says a random name. He's like, if you know what I'm talking about, I'll see you there, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, he is talking directly to me. I know he is. And they like spend the next like 5 minutes trying to figure out what he was trying to do. And as a viewer, I'm like, how do they even know that's a riddle? And then they like figure out it's like, oh, it's a geographical like, point on the map, and they go to this place and there's nothing there. And they're like, wait, what is he doing? And then Batman stops and goes, oh my God, he flipped the whiteboard over. And they go back and they write down the thing that he wrote, flip it over on a piece of paper and look at it upside down.
Yeah.
And it's another set of coordinates. And it's like, that's the kind of Riddler stuff. Not just a riddle that you just have to figure out what's as high as maize, corn, oh, okay. But like,
oh God,
like a whole bunch of like everything he says is a puzzle, and everything he does is a puzzle.
Exactly.
And that's why a Riddler story would be great, and that's why I always go back to like the animated series because they did it right.
And then you can also have the Riddler hire, Deathstroke.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. Because here's my thing, I like Arrow. I'm not gonna say I love Arrow. I like Arrow, and I like what they did with Deathstroke. But the thing with Deathstroke is that he was a lovesick puppy, and I would like to see the Deathstroke who just is in it for the money. Yeah. Like I want there to be a scene where him and Batman are fighting. He gets a message from Riddler saying things off. He goes, "Okay, I'm going to go home." He's like, "What are you doing?" Like,
yeah,
I'm not getting paid to fight you, so I'm not going to fight you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to fight you again because we seem to be like.
And then, you're an admirable opponent, but right now, for now, he just disappears.
And maybe he comes back like, you know what? I want to finish where we started, but right now, I'm not getting paid to fight you. So, see, I mean, that might be a little more of a cop out, but I think for fans like you and me, we're like, that's cool because he cares more about getting the money than
right. It'd be like really cool if, like, in an earlier part of the movie or something like that, Batman's trying to like escort like a witness or something like that, and he kills the witness.
Yes.
And then
that'd be so cool.
Batman's like, why? And then he's like, fight me, like. And then he's like, no, I'm not being paid to. Ta-ta.
Yeah, I don't get paid. Yeah, I don't get paid to fight you.
I was like, yeah, no, I was told to do two things: kill that guy and leave you this message. And Batman's like, what message? And like throws a knife at him, and he dodges it, and it's got like a message in the knife or something like that.
Yeah.
Or even though he says two things: one, kill that guy, and two, leave a message. And then he disappears. And Batman's like, wait, what message? Then looks at the knife in the dude's head, and there's a note in it or something like that.
That'll be
something really grisly.
Yeah, and then that you can have the noir mixed with action, and like that they can do that. They can dip in so many different genres of mystery, horror, and just action. So it would be a lot of fun.
And another thing that I just really want from a Batman movie that they haven't done correctly almost ever is his like using his detective ability at the Bat computer.
Yeah.
Like, because in all of the movies, it's just him like talking to someone on it or doing some weird thing with it. Like,
or
it's
not
never
doing
actually
any detective at
yeah,
all.
it's not actually any like detective work. And I'd love for this one to him be like cross-referencing things, like have like 20 different tabs up in like Windows and different like computer monitors, and him like in a bunch of like Easter eggs and references too. I want to be able to like look in a corner and be like,
there's a laughing fish.
Yeah, there's a laughing fish. Or like he's trying to like cross-examine this thing against the fear toxin that Scarecrow makes. Oh, it's not a match, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like not even mention it as part of the story, but it's just there. Because one of the cool things about this Batman is that unlike every other Batman movie so far, he's been through a lot of stuff. We're not catching him in the first 5 years or even 10 years.
So he could have gone through a whole
bunch.
His whole rogues gallery.
Yeah, and so like
if they wanted to bring back Jason Todd, he can it's like, okay, well, Jason was dead. Well, maybe I can check out Ra's al Ghul's, maybe he went through the lab.
God, that'd be so neat if there's like a vial of something that says like Lazarus sample.
Yeah,
and it's just like a sample from a Lazarus pit. And that's what this Batman gets to do is just have a bunch of really awesome references to older stuff that we're probably not going to see, and I'm okay with that. Because as someone that's read all of this stuff, knows what it is, and knows more or less the story behind it. Exactly. We don't need to see anything more. We just need to know that this Batman is experienced and knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And with, because, I'm a huge film buff, and the fact that he said he's Matt Reeves is going to take a Hitchcockian take on it, it's like, I'm so excited. Because like you said, there's a lot of scenes from Hitchcock films where you have that the shadow, that darkness. And I mean, it's gonna be kind of hard to do when it's not black and white, but
I mean, you can still do shadows. Shadows are still a thing you can definitely do.
Of course, but like the effect of the shadow in a black and white film, because it's black and white. If there's more black than white, it's very noticeable. Like you can have like a dark room, and then like you can see.
Well, I mean, look at Sin City.
Yes.
Sin City was done in more or less the noir style, and that doesn't mean black and white. It just meant that the way that they used shadows to emphasize.
But it was still black and white.
But it was still black and white. But that's because it was a black and white film, not because it was a noir film.
True.
Because noir goes beyond just being black and white. It's a feel.
Yeah.
It's the tone of the film. It's the shots. It's the angles. It's everything.
Because they're technically neo noirs. Because like I said, noir I googled it a while ago, and they say noir takes place between 30s and 40s.
Yep.
That's why that's why it's called neo noir and neo westerns. Because also the same thing with westerns, it has to be in the 1800s or whatever. Blah blah blah. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that part. But yeah, it's that feeling where, because that's the thing about films that I always say, like, oh, it's so predictable. I don't want to know where this movie's going. I really want to be so on the edge of my seat, like.
Yeah, like there needs to be a huge twist.
Like
if it's going to be a detective film.
Wrap my brain around, like, maybe we don't even know it's Riddler. I mean, we know it's Riddler because, they're riddles, but at the same time, maybe we don't even see Riddler for a long time.
It's just Joker.
And I think that's where we'll end the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Also, make sure you check us out on social media at Real Film Geeks on Twitter and Instagram, and also check out our parent company, The Token Nerds. You can check them out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, thank you to Podbean for hosting us. We'll check you guys out next week. Me and Zeb are actually taking a road trip, so we're going to actually do a lot of content while we're driving down there. So please stay tuned for that. And later this week, I'm also going to post up a giveaway for our fans because, I'm feeling generous. And yeah, so just keep posted. Make sure you check out Instagram and Twitter at Real Film Geeks. And yeah, I'm Addison Lee.
And I'm Zebedee.
Remember, shoot film, not people.